At 01:45 hours on September 25, 1942, a Whitley bomber from RAF Tempsford circles over a field near Saint-Laurent-Nouan, 160 kilometers southeast of Paris. Below, 3 flashlights blink in the arranged pattern. The dispatcher opens the hatch. 2 women stand by the opening parachutes, strapped faces blackened with camouflage cream. The first jumps at 150 hours. The second follows 15 seconds later. They fall through darkness toward occupied France, becoming the first female Special Operations executive agents to parachute into enemy territory. One of them is Andrée Borrel, codename Denise. She is 22 years old. In 9 months, she will be dead. In the year before that jump, she will guide 40 Allied pilots and airmen through France to Spain and freedom. This is the story of a woman who fought 2 wars simultaneously, one to return captured airmen to the fight, one to sabotage the occupiers' infrastructure, and how both wars ended in a concentration camp crematorium. Andrée Borrel is born on November 18, 1919, in Louveciennes, a working-class suburb west of Paris. Her father works in a factory. Her mother is a seamstress. The family is neither wealthy nor educated. Andrée leaves school at 14, the legal minimum, to work in a bakery on the Avenue Kléber. She delivers bread, serves customers, cleans the shop. The work is mundane and exhausting. She is good at it. Her sister later describes her as athletic, a tomboy who prefers cycling and hiking to conventional feminine pursuits. This is relevant. Physical fitness will keep her alive when others die of exhaustion. In September 1939, Germany invades Poland. France mobilizes. Andrée, 19 years old, volunteers as a Red Cross nurse aide. She receives basic training from the Association des Dames de France and is assigned to Beaucaire Hospital near Toulon, treating wounded French soldiers evacuated from the Maginot Line. The casualties are light initially. The war is static. This changes in May 1940 when Germany invades France through Belgium and the Ardennes. The hospital fills rapidly. The wounded arrive in trucks, trains, and ambulances, men with gunshot wounds, shrapnel injuries, burns, amputations. Andrée works 16-hour shifts. She learns to change dressings, administer morphine, recognize infections. She sees men die from wounds that would be survivable with adequate medical care. The experience hardens her. On June 22, 1940, France signs an armistice with Germany. The agreement divides France into occupied and unoccupied zones. The northern zone, including Paris, falls under direct German control. The southern zone becomes Vichy France, nominally independent but subordinate to German interests. Marshal Philippe Pétain leads the Vichy government. The Association des Dames de France, which operates the hospital where Andrée works, falls under Vichy authority. Andrée refuses to accept this. She is French. The Germans are occupiers. Surrender is unacceptable. By July 1940, she has made contact with the nascent French resistance. She meets Maurice Dufour, a resistance organizer who shares her refusal to accept defeat. Together, they establish a safe house, a villa, outside Perpignan, near the Spanish border. The location is strategic. British and Allied soldiers stranded in France after Dunkirk need routes to Spain. From Spain, they can reach Gibraltar and return to Britain. Andrée and Dufour create one of these routes. They hide soldiers in the villa, provide false identity papers, guide them across the Pyrenees into Spain. Between July and December 1940, they assist dozens of evaders. The work is dangerous. Discovery means immediate arrest, interrogation by the Gestapo, and probable execution. In December 1940, the network is compromised. Someone informs the Vichy authorities. Accounts differ on whether betrayal is deliberate or accidental. Andrée and Dufour flee Perpignan before arrests begin. They hide in Toulouse, moving between safe houses, avoiding police surveillance. Toulouse is crowded with refugees, resistance members, and informers. Trust becomes impossible. By early 1941, Toulouse is too dangerous. They decide to escape France entirely. The escape route runs through Spain to Portugal. Both countries are neutral, but Spain is sympathetic to Germany. Allied soldiers captured in Spain face internment or deportation back to France. The Pyrenees crossing is the dangerous part, 15 to 20 hours of walking through mountains, crossing at night to avoid Spanish border patrols. Andrée and Dufour cross in March 1941 with a group of evaders they have been hiding. The weather is cold, but manageable. They reach the Portuguese border without incident. In Lisbon, Andrée goes to the British embassy. She explains her work with the escape network. The British intelligence officers listen skeptically. She is a French civilian, a former bakery worker claiming to have operated an escape line. She has no documentation, no proof except her testimony. The British suspect she may be a German agent. They detain her at the Royal Patriotic School, a facility near London, where refugees and returning agents are interrogated. The interrogation lasts weeks. They question her repeatedly. Where did she operate? Who did she work with? How many evaders did she assist? What were their names and units? She answers consistently. Her story does not change under repeated questioning. Eventually, the interrogators believe her. She is released but unemployed. Her nursing qualifications are not recognized in Britain. She has no money-limited English and few marketable skills. She finds work as a dishwasher, then as a seamstress, sewing military uniforms in a factory. The work is tedious. She survived the interrogation expecting to continue resistance work. Instead, she washes dishes. This continues for months. In April 1942, she applies to join the Free French Forces, the military organization commanded by Charles de Gaulle. The Free French reject her application. She has worked with British intelligence. She refuses to discuss details of operational security, forbids disclosure of escape network activities. The Free French interpret this refusal as suspicious. They decline her application. Andrée is furious but unsurprised. Bureaucratic mistrust is universal. In May 1942, she is approached by Special Operations Executive Recruiters. SOE, established in 1940 by Winston Churchill with the mandate to set Europe ablaze, conducts sabotage intelligence gathering and support for resistance movements across occupied Europe. They need French-speaking agents familiar with France, preferably with resistance experience. Andrée Borrel fits this profile exactly. SOE offers recruitment. She accepts immediately. SOE training is intensive and eliminates many recruits. Andrée begins at Wanborough Manor in Surrey, where candidates undergo basic paramilitary instruction, firearms, hand-to-hand combat explosives, handling night navigation. She excels at physical training, but struggles with weapons handling. She has never used firearms before. Instructors note that she is determined but lacks imagination. This assessment is partially accurate. She is practical, not creative. She follows instructions precisely, but does not improvise solutions. This makes her reliable, but limits her suitability for independent command. Advanced training occurs at Arisaig in Scotland and Beaulieu in Hampshire. At Arisaig, trainees learn demolitions, sabotage techniques, and small unit tactics. They practice destroying railway lines, derailing trains, and disabling industrial equipment. Andrée learns to use plastic explosives, time delay fuses, and pressure detonators. She memorizes the critical components of locomotives, electrical transformers, and fuel storage facilities. The training is practical. Trainees attack real infrastructure under simulated combat conditions. The instructors are unforgiving. Mistakes in training mean failure. Mistakes in France mean death. At Beaulieu, the finishing school trainees learn tradecraft surveillance detection, counter-surveillance dead drops codes, cover stories, and resistance to interrogation. They practice living undercover in simulated occupied towns where instructors play German soldiers and collaborators. Trainees must establish cover identities, rent rooms, conduct meetings, and evade arrest. When captured, they are subjected to mock interrogations, stress positions, sleep deprivation, verbal abuse. Some recruits break. They are dismissed from training. Andrée does not break. Interrogators note she maintains her cover story under pressure without revealing operational details. On August 25, 1942, her training evaluators complete their assessment. The report is clinical, sound intelligence but limited imagination and organizational capacity, best suited as a deputy executive rather than an independent leader. Despite these reservations, she passes final evaluation. SOE needs agents immediately. The invasion of France is planned for 1944. Resistance networks must be established now to prepare for that invasion. Andrée Borrel is assigned to F Section, the France section, as a courier for the Prosper network. Her codename is Denise. Her cover identity is Denise, blonde agricultural inspector. She will work under Francis Sutil, the network's commander. On September 24, 1942, Andrée and Marie-Lise de Baissac board a Whitley bomber at RAF Tempsford. The aircraft takes off at 2200 hours, crosses the English Channel, and flies low over occupied France. The first drop attempt is aborted. The ground reception lights are incorrect. The pilot circles back to England. The aircraft lands at 0400 hours. The women sleep a few hours, then board the same aircraft that evening for a second attempt. This time the lights are correct. At 0150 hours on September 25th, Andrée jumps. She lands in a field near the Loire River. Local resistance members greet her, provide civilian clothing, and escort her to a safe house. After 2 years away, she is back in France. The Germans control the country. She is now a British agent with orders to destroy their infrastructure. Francis Sutil, the Prosper Network commander, is 33 years old, a barrister by training, born in Lille to a French mother and British father. His French is good but accented. He passes as Belgian, not French. This limitation requires a courier whose French is perfect. Andrée Borrel is that courier. Within days of her arrival, Sutil recognizes her competence. He writes to SOE headquarters in London. She has a perfect understanding of security and an imperturbable calmness. Thank you very much for having sent her to me. The Prosper Network's mission is preparing northern France for Allied invasion. This involves multiple activities: identifying drop zones for parachute operations, organizing reception committees to receive weapons and supplies, recruiting resistance members, conducting sabotage operations, and gathering intelligence on German defenses. The network grows rapidly. By December 1942, Prosper includes over 100 active members. By March 1943, the number exceeds 200. This growth violates SOE doctrine, which emphasizes small compartmentalized cells to limit damage from arrests. Sutil believes rapid expansion is necessary. The invasion is coming. Resistance must be ready. Andrée operates as Sutil's courier and second-in-command. She travels throughout the Paris region, carrying messages, distributing funds, coordinating supply drops, and recruiting new members. She often poses as Sutil's sister, explaining his imperfect French by claiming he was raised in Belgium. Their cover story involves selling agricultural machinery, a plausible explanation for traveling across northern France. The work requires constant alertness. German security services monitor train stations, conduct random identity checks, and track suspicious movement patterns. Andrée carries false identity papers, forged travel permits, and coded messages. Discovery of any of these means arrest. The network conducts its first major sabotage operation in October 1942, destroying electrical transformers at a power station outside Paris. Andrée participates in the planning and execution. The operation succeeds. The transformers are destroyed, cutting power to several German installations. No one is arrested. SOE headquarters is pleased. They increase weapons drops to Prosper, sending plastic explosives, steam guns, grenades, and ammunition. Andrée supervises many of these drops, organizing reception committees, signaling aircraft with flashlights, and distributing weapons to resistance members. By spring 1943, Andrée is effectively Sutil's lieutenant. She shares every operation, every danger. When Sutil meets sub-circuit leaders, Andrée accompanies him. When weapons arrive, Andrée organizes their distribution. When German security tightens, Andrée adjusts routes and procedures. She is tireless, fearless, and competent. Other agents note her calm under pressure. Maurice Guépin, whose wife works with Prosper, later says Andrée had a head on her shoulders and a will of iron. But Andrée also violates security protocols. She socializes with other SOE agents at cafes in Paris, playing poker and discussing operations. SOE doctrine explicitly forbids this. Networks should remain isolated to prevent cascade failures if one network is penetrated. Sutil tolerates the violations, believing network coordination justifies the risk. This calculation is wrong. The Prosper Network's rapid growth attracts German attention. The Abwehr, German military intelligence, and the Sicherheitsdienst, the SS intelligence service, deploy resources specifically against British networks in France. They use radio direction-finding vans to locate wireless transmissions. They infiltrate resistance groups with agents provocateurs. They bribe, blackmail, and torture informants. By early 1943, German security services know that a major British network operates in Paris. They do not know its exact structure, but they observe patterns. Certain individuals meet regularly. Money flows from unknown sources. Weapons appear in resistance hands. On June 23, 1943, the Germans strike. Sutil is arrested at a safe house in Paris. Gilbert Norman, the network's wireless operator, and Andrée's partner, is arrested the same day. Andrée is arrested shortly afterward. Though accounts differ on exact circumstances, some sources say she was arrested with Sutil, others that she was arrested separately while attempting to warn other network members. The truth is obscured by contradictory testimony. What is certain, by June 24th, the three key members of Prosper, Sutil, Norman, and Borrel are in German custody. The arrests result from betrayal, though the betrayer's identity remains disputed. Some historians blame Harold Cole, a British criminal posing as an SOE agent who worked briefly with escape networks before the Germans recruited him as an informer. Others suspect Roger Leneveu, a French resistance member turned German agent. Still others argue that German signals intelligence allowed them to locate SOE wireless operators, leading to arrests. The most likely explanation combines factors. German signals intelligence identified wireless locations, informants provided details on network structure, and cascade arrests followed initial captures. Andrée is taken to 84 Avenue Foch, the Gestapo headquarters in Paris. The building, requisitioned from a wealthy French family, serves as the center for German counterintelligence operations in France. The basement contains interrogation rooms. Agents are beaten, subjected to sleep deprivation, threatened with execution. The Gestapo's objective is extracting operational information, names of other agents, locations of safe houses, wireless codes, future operations. Some agents break and provide information. Some maintain silence. Andrée remains silent. No record exists of her revealing operational details. This is confirmed by other SOE agents later imprisoned with her. After interrogation, she is transferred to Fresnes prison on the outskirts of Paris. Fresnes is a civilian prison, repurposed for holding political prisoners and captured agents. Conditions are harsh, solitary confinement in unheated cells, minimal food, no medical care. Prisoners are allowed outside 1 hour per day. The rest of the time they sit in cells waiting. Many prisoners are executed, taken from their cells at night, shot and buried in unmarked graves. Others are deported to concentration camps in Germany. Andrée remains in Fresnes for 11 months. During this period, she has no contact with other prisoners except brief moments during exercise periods when prisoners can whisper to each other through barred windows. On May 13, 1944, Andrée and 7 other female SOE agents are transported from Fresnes to Germany. The group includes Vera Lee, Diana Rowden, Sonia Olshanesky, Yolande Beekman, Eliane Pluman, Madeleine Damermont, and Odette Sansom. They travel by train under guard, arriving at Karlsruhe prison on May 15th. There they are separated. Some are sent to Ravensbrück concentration camp. 4, Andrée Borrel, Vera Lee, Diana Rowden, and Sonia Olshanesky, are sent to Natzweiler-Struthof concentration camp in Alsace. Natzweiler-Struthof is a small camp holding approximately 7,000 prisoners who work in nearby stone quarries. The camp is brutal even by concentration camp standards. Prisoners suffer from malnutrition, disease, and routine beatings. The death rate is high. Why the 4 women are sent to Natzweiler remains unclear. Most female SOE agents are sent to Ravensbrück. Some historians suggest that Natzweiler was chosen specifically for their execution because it has a crematorium and is located near the front lines, making it easier to dispose of bodies without documentation. The women arrive at Natzweiler on July 6, 1944. They are not registered as prisoners. No camp records document their arrival. They are taken directly to a building near the crematorium. SS Obersturmführer Werner Rode and several subordinates are waiting. The women are told they will receive typhoid inoculations. This is a lie. Rode administers lethal injections of phenol carbolic acid intended to cause rapid death through cardiac arrest. The injections do not work as intended. Post-war testimony from camp inmates and guards provides fragmentary accounts of what happens next. The details are horrific. Andrée Borrel fights. She scratches her executioner's face, drawing blood. She is conscious when they drag her to the crematorium oven. She is alive when they push her inside. Witnesses later testified that they heard screaming from inside the oven. This testimony is given at the Hamburg war crimes trials in 1946, where several Natzweiler personnel faced charges for the murders. Andrée Borrel dies on July 6, 1944. She is 24 years old. Her body is cremated immediately. No record of her death is filed with camp authorities. The Germans intend for her to disappear without trace, a victim of the Nacht- und Nebelnight and fog directive that orders captured agents to vanish into night and fog without trial or documentation. The plan almost succeeds. Only the testimony of SOE agent Brian Stonehouse, imprisoned at Natzweiler and witness to the women's arrival, and the confession of Werner Rode during his war crimes trial confirm what happened. Francis Sudel is executed at Sachsenhausen concentration camp on March 23, 1945, 4 weeks before Germany surrenders. Gilbert Norman is executed at Mauthausen concentration camp on September 6, 1944. Of the Prosper Network's key members, none survive the war. The network itself collapses completely after the June 1943 arrests. Hundreds of members are arrested in cascade failures over the following months. Some escape to other networks. Most are imprisoned, deported, or executed. The rapid expansion that Sudel believed necessary instead creates vulnerability. When the network is penetrated, there is no compartmentalization to limit damage. Post-war analysis reveals that Prosper's security failures were extensive. The network grew too large. Members socialized openly, making surveillance easy. Wireless operators transmitted from the same locations, repeatedly allowing German direction finding to pinpoint them. Safe houses were used for months, increasing compromise risk. The poker games Andrée attended with other agents violated every security protocol. German counterintelligence was competent and well-resourced. Even a perfectly secured network would face severe challenges. Prosper was far from perfectly secured. The question of whether Prosper's destruction could have been prevented remains debated. Some historians argue that better security protocols would have limited damage. Others contend that operating in occupied Paris made compromise inevitable. German security was too effective, informants too numerous, surveillance too intensive. The most likely assessment: Prosper lasted longer than it should have, achieved significant results before collapse, but was ultimately doomed by operational decisions that prioritized speed over security. The network's achievements before collapse are significant. Prosper organized dozens of successful parachute drops, distributing thousands of weapons to resistance groups. The network conducted multiple sabotage operations, disrupting German communications and infrastructure. Intelligence gathered by Prosper contributed to Allied planning for D-Day. The network's existence forced German security services to divert resources to counterintelligence rather than frontline operations. These contributions justified SOE's investment, though they did not save the agents who made them possible. Andrée Borrel's earlier work, guiding Allied pilots to freedom through the escape network, receives less attention than her SOE service, but it is arguably more impactful. Between July 1940 and March 1941, she and Maurice Dufour assist approximately 40 evaders in reaching Spain. 40 pilots and aircrew returned to operations represent significant combat capability. Training a pilot costs thousands of pounds and months of instruction. A trained bomber crew pilot, navigator, bombardier, gunners, engineer represents years of cumulative training. Returning 40 trained aircrew to service is equivalent to graduating an entire training class. The escape network she worked with, eventually incorporated into the Pat O'Leary line, led by Albert Garris, assists over 600 Allied evaders during the war. These men return to Britain, rejoin their units, and fly additional missions. Some are shot down again and evade again. Some complete their tours and survive the war. All contribute to Allied air superiority, which becomes decisive in 1944. The D-Day invasion succeeds partly because Allied aircraft dominate the skies over Normandy, preventing German reinforcements from reaching the beaches. The pilots who achieve that air superiority include men who survived being shot down over France and returned through escape lines. The human cost of operating escape lines is immense. Over 500 French civilians are executed for assisting Allied evaders. Thousands more are imprisoned, deported to concentration camps, or tortured. The German response to escape network activity is brutal and systematic. When the Gestapo arrests an escape line member, they torture until the prisoner provides names of collaborators. Then they arrest those people and repeat the process. Networks collapse in cascade failures. Entire towns are investigated. Anyone suspected of assisting evaders faces arrest. Andrée's decision to operate the safe house near Perpignan. Knowing discovery means death reflects moral courage that transcends conventional heroism. She is not a trained soldier. She has no combat experience. She is a former bakery worker who decides at age 20 that assisting Allied soldiers is worth dying for. This decision, repeated daily for 6 months as she hides evaders, forges documents and guides men across the Pyrenees, defines her character more than the later SOE operations. The SOE work is also courageous, but it occurs within an institutional framework, providing training support and recognition. The escape line work occurs independently, without training, institutional support, or expectation of recognition. Maurice Dufour. Andrée's partner in the escape network survives the war. Post-war, he provides testimony about Andrée's role in the network. He describes her as fearless, resourceful, and utterly committed. He notes that she personally guided evaders across the Pyrenees multiple times, a physically demanding journey requiring endurance and navigational skill. She carried supplies, maintained pace with fit young soldiers, and avoided Spanish border patrols through knowledge of terrain and timing. This work receives no medals during her lifetime. Britain awards the King's Commendation for brave conduct posthumously in 1946. France awards the Croix de Guerre and Médaille de la Résistance posthumously. These honors recognize her service, they do not restore her life. In 1985, Brian Stonehouse, the SOE agent imprisoned at Natzweiler who witnessed the 4 women's arrival and execution, paints a portrait of Andrée Borrel and her 3 companions. The painting hangs in the Special Forces Club in London. It depicts 4 women in simple dresses, faces calm, standing together. The painting is understated, avoiding melodrama or sentimentality. The women look ordinary, which they were. They were bakers, secretaries, nurses who became agents, fighters, and martyrs. The ordinariness is the point. Resistance involved ordinary people making extraordinary choices. A plaque at Natzweiler Struthof Crematorium commemorates Andrée Borrel, Vera Lay, Diana Roden, and Sonia Olshanesky. The plaque was placed in 1975, 30 years after their deaths. The concentration camp is now a French national memorial site. Visitors can tour the barracks, see the crematorium, and read about the prisoners who died there. Most visitors know little about the specific individuals commemorated. The names are unfamiliar. The stories are forgotten, except by specialists. In 2022, a monument is unveiled at Saint-Laurent-Nouan, the field where Andrée and Marie-Lise de Baissac landed on September 25, 1942. The monument is granite, inscribed with their names and dates. Local officials attend the ceremony. Veterans organizations send representatives. The mayor gives a speech about resistance, sacrifice, and memory. The ceremony is dignified and respectful. It is also perfunctory. The attendees know these women died 80 years ago, in circumstances that feel distant and abstract. The monument ensures names are remembered. It cannot convey what those names experienced. The Valençay SOE Memorial in central France lists 104 F-section agents who died during the war. Andrée Borrel's name appears among them, alphabetically ordered, no indication of rank or specific achievements. This is deliberate. The memorial treats all agents equally, recognizing that each contributed according to their role and each died for the same cause. The egalitarianism is admirable. It also obscures individual stories. Andrée Borrel guided pilots to freedom, parachuted into occupied France, conducted sabotage operations, and died fighting her executioners. These specifics matter. They distinguish her story from others. The memorial's format eliminates distinctions, treating all deaths as equivalent. The mythology surrounding female SOE agents emphasizes their exoticism and daring. Films like Carve Her Name with Pride, 1958, and Charlotte Gray, 2001, depict women parachuting into France, conducting dramatic operations, and dying heroically. These films serve purposes. They entertain, they inspire, they commemorate, but they distort. Real agents operated under constant fear, not dramatic music. They conducted mundane courier work, not spectacular raids. They died in concentration camps, not dramatic final stands. The films make resistance palatable. Reality was squalid, terrifying, and often pointless. Andrée Borrel's story fits poorly into heroic narratives. She does not die dramatically defending a position. She is murdered in a concentration camp crematorium, screaming and fighting while SS guards shove her into an oven. This is not cinematic. It is horror. Commemorating it requires acknowledging that resistance often ends not in triumph, but in torture and death. The cost is paid by individuals who receive at best posthumous recognition and at worst anonymity. Modern military organizations study SOE operations for lessons in unconventional warfare resistance networks and agent tradecraft. The lessons are practical compartmentalization limits, cascade failures, security protocols must be enforced regardless of operational pressure, rapid network expansion creates vulnerability. These lessons are learned from failures like Prosper's collapse. The agents who taught these lessons, Andrée Borrel, Francis Sutel, Gilbert Norman, are commemorated in training materials as examples of both effectiveness and vulnerability. They are case studies. They were people. The question of whether SOE operations were worth their human cost remains contentious. Some historians argue that resistance networks tied down German security forces provided intelligence and supported the invasion of France. Others contend that resistance achieved little strategic impact while costing thousands of lives. Both positions have merit. Resistance did tie down German forces. Entire divisions stationed in France to suppress resistance could have been deployed to the Eastern Front. Intelligence from resistance networks did inform Allied planning. But the cost, thousands of French civilians executed, tens of thousands, imprisoned entire communities, devastated exceeded any military advantage gained. For Andrée Borrel, this debate is academic. She chose resistance not for strategic calculation, but for moral conviction. France was occupied. Occupation was intolerable. Resistance was necessary. The consequences, arrest, torture, death, were accepted risks. This moral clarity characteristic of early resistance members becomes rarer as the war progresses and the strategic calculus becomes more complex. By 1944, resistance is coordinated, supplied, and directed by Allied command. In 1940 and 1941, resistance is individual choice. In the absence of institutional support, Andrée operates during both periods. The early escape network work is individual choice. The SOE work is institutional mission. Both require courage. The early work requires more. Today, Andrée Borrel is largely forgotten outside specialist circles. She has no popular biography. No major film depicts her life. Her name appears on memorials seen by few people. She is commemorated alongside dozens of other agents whose stories are equally forgotten. This obscurity is not unique. Most resistance members, regardless of achievement, disappear into history. The well-known stories, Jean Moulin, Josephine Baker, Nancy Wake, are exceptions. The typical pattern is anonymity. This anonymity reflects how societies remember war. Large battles, Stalingrad, Normandy, Midway, are remembered because they changed strategic outcomes and involved thousands of participants. Individual stories are remembered if they are dramatic, unique, or well-documented. Andrée Borrel's story is none of these. Her escape network work was shared with dozens of others. Her SOE service was competent, but not uniquely distinguished. Her death was horrific, but not unique. Tens of thousands died similarly in concentration camps. She becomes a name on a list indistinguishable from other names forgotten, except by those who study the specific networks she served. The injustice is not that she is forgotten. The injustice is that she died at 24 after 2 years of service to a cause that succeeded without acknowledging her contribution. Britain liberated France. The pilots she guided to freedom flew the aircraft that ensured air superiority. The weapons she distributed armed resistance fighters who harassed German forces. Her work mattered. She died anyway, murdered by people who lost the war but killed her before losing. The victory came too late for Andrée Borrel. It came too late for millions of others. On a plaque at Natzweiler Struthof, 4 names are inscribed: Andrée Borrel, Vera, Lee, Diana Rowden, Sonia Olshanesky. The plaque states they were executed July 6, 1944. It does not mention that Andrée was alive when they cremated her, that she fought until the end, that her executioner bore scratches on his face from her resistance. These details are too graphic for public memorials. They are also the truth. Andrée Borrel did not die quietly. She died fighting. This is worth remembering.